thank you for joining my talk. My name is Hadjer Smati. I came from Germany and I'm doing my PhD in the human dimensions of recreational fisheries management under the supervision of Professor Robert Allinghouse, and this work is also co-authored by Dr. Sebastian Thais. Today I'm going to tell you a story about the typology of German angling typology of management approach in German recreational communities, angling communities. So recreational fisheries management is not about only managing fish, but it is also about managing people, habitat, how do they interact with the ecosystem or the resource. Managers usually rely on main three management tools: harvest regulations, habitat management, or fish stocking. However, although habitat management is really considered as a sustainable and sustainable management tool, but it is really costly and it is slow in showing results. So stocking fish and harvest regulations are the most preferred management tools in recreational fisheries. This brings us to think about another idea, that those decisions, management decisions, are not shaped only by ecological factors, but also including economics and social constraints and also psychological factors. Let's briefly, sorry, I'm focusing because this is really confusing. Yeah, I was talking about this figure. Yeah. Now let's briefly talk about focus on Germany, on how do they manage the recreational fisheries there. So German recreational fisheries are in Germany they are using they mix between decentralized governance system in the western of Germany and centralized system under umbrella associations in Western Germany. And this brings us to think about the differences between the governance and how do fishing rights can influence those decisions and those choices in management practices. But we are still not understanding how do they combine different management strategies, how do psychological factors and contextual factors interact all together in shaping those management strategies. Yeah. Nice. So in order to answer on all those questions, our study is based on data from a project called Fish. So here we are using data from randomly selected angling clubs. We targeted only club heat managers of those angling. Ask them different questions. One of those questions, and this is the core question of our analysis that we are using it, cluster archetypal analysis on it, to ask them in how many of your club waters were the following management practices implemented in this year. And this is just examples of the different items that we asked them about: harvest regulations, stock enhancement, habitat management practices, and those were the rating scales. Our scales here are ordinal, so in order to move on to use the archetypal analysis, we used to convert them to numerical or to continuous scales using the ordered stereotype model. Then we moved to the archetypoid analysis in order to identify the real extremes of different points in our data. And after the archetypoid analysis, we should determine the best archetypes or archetypoids. mathematical method, we just calculated the different distances between the points in the curve and the line that join the first and the last point of this curve. And the maximum distance represents the point here is the number of the clusters or the archetypoids or the archetypes. So here we identified 4 archetypoids. Then we gave them some few specific names based on the management strategies that they are highly scoring on them. And I forget to say that after the archetypoid analysis on our question that I show you, we followed up by a post hoc analysis. So for the post hoc, we used statistical analysis like Kurz-Kalvares and Dunn test. Because our data were skewed, we did not continue with ANOVA. And here we can say that we have 4 archetypoids. For example, the direct output regulators, they rely heavily on using harvest regulations compared to environmental steward. They are heavily invested into habitat management. And for example, passive managers, they are using the different management strategies, but really with less intensity. And the most important thing that we can notice here is the yellow bars, which represent stocking practices that all angling clubs and all the archetypoids, they stock with similar quantities. Yeah, that's it. Then we want to analyze what are the different contextual factors that influence this heterogeneity between different archetypoids. And we went for analyzing, first of all, the expenditures of the archetypoids and on different management practices. We can see that fish stocking receives the high funding from the different archetypoids compared to other management strategies. Then we want also to see how much do they stock, because they are all investing in stocking. So we can see that there is a difference between our archetypoids. They do not stock in the same way. And then we want to analyze the different stocking objectives. So we had a set of objectives. Here I just selected 3 for you. The first one represents social recreational objective, for example, angular attractiveness. The second one, increase for fish stocks for ecological and biological objectives. And the third one related also to biology and conservation. So we can see that there is no difference between the archetypoids regarding to the social objectives and to the ecological objectives. But passive managers, which is the dominated, I forgot to say that, this is the dominated archetypes in Germany. So passive managers and holistic output regulators, they perceive that it is not really applicable for them, because here we measured through 5 scales from 1 to 5 how much this objective is applicable for in terms of their management strategies. Yeah, and here we want through another structural factor, which is related to the water body size. We want to see how much the size of the waters that they control, whether they have control over more still waters or running waters. And we can see that passive managers, they have they cover a huge area in hectares, and yeah. Yeah, and here we want to analyze another structural factor related to the fishing rights, and we combined shared and exclusive fishing rights together, and we can see that passive managers control over their waters compared to others. And we also analyzed further recreational angling pressure, the angling density, and we did not find any differences between the archetypes, any significant differences by And then we analyzed the psychological factors, and here we analyzed the perception of the club waters, how it is effective or not for managers, and we can see that for restriction of angling intensities, it is highly effective for environmental stewards groups. They see it's more effective in order to conserve and manage their resources. And yeah, here this is satisfaction, not effectiveness. We want to see that if the club managers and the club members are satisfied about the different management strategies applied to stocking measures, and we can see that passive managers, both, they are not satisfied, either the managers and the club members, in order to, at the end, we can say that the German angling clubs, they are heterogeneous in using the different management strategies. And those differences are shaped not only by ecological factors, but also by contextual and governance and institutional settings. And also that psychological factors like effectiveness and perceived effectiveness play also a role in shaping anglers and managers' beliefs.